Alright, it's been 5 years since this game was originally announced. It went into early access on PC. It was announced it was going to be coming to consoles, and we finally have it. We finally have DayZ on Xbox One. Let's talk about this. Hey everybody, what is going on? Brandon here, and this is DayZ on the Xbox One. I am one of the 5,000 people that were lucky enough to get a code and actually be able to get into this game and test it out before it arrives into game preview for Xbox One on the 29th. And most of you probably think that this review is going to be awesome and I'm going to be recommending it just because of how enthusiastic I sound, but curb that enthusiasm because I am not actually that excited about this game. In fact, I'm the complete opposite of that, and I'm going to tell you why. So I have put a whopping probably 6 hours into this game, and I will go ahead and explain to you that I have enjoyed absolutely no amount of time doing that. No amount of time playing this game has been even remotely enjoyable. But first, before I get into all that, let me give you a little bit of history with my experience with DayZ in the past. Now, I actually originally played this game on PC back in 2014. It was in early access. It was very poorly optimized. Around that same time, there were two other games very similar that had come out. There was H1Z1, which is now a Battle Royale game, but at the time was just a zombie survival game, which would later go on to be renamed Just Survive, with the Battle Royale game getting the H1Z1 title. There was also another game out called War Z at the time. Now, War Z eventually was forced to change their name based on some things that happened with the DayZ developers. They were forced to change their name to Infestation Survivor Stories. Now, I actually originally played Infestation or War Z back before I played any of these other games, and I actually really enjoyed it. Cheaters were a little bit of a problem. It was clunky, it had some issues, but for the most part, Infestation was very enjoyable when it first came out. I originally went on to H1Z1 after that because Infestation started getting pretty bad after, they changed a little bit of developers. They had changed some things in the game, and it started getting a lot worse, especially with cheaters, so I went to H1Z1. And with H1Z1, it played a lot like what I liked about War Z, which was it had a crafting system. You could loot pretty much anything, and it was a really fun time, especially because zombies were really big at that time. Walking Dead had just come out around that time. So the whole zombie apocalypse survival MMO was still really fresh, it was still new, and it was exciting because nobody else had really done that before. But around that time, like I said, DayZ had gone into early access, so I checked it out. It was very poorly optimized. I could barely get it to run on my system back in the day because I didn't really have a huge gaming rig back then. I mean, it was decent, but it wasn't very high-end, and the game was so poorly optimized that you needed a really high-end system to be able to even run it properly. So I tested it out for probably a couple days before I eventually just gave up on it. I wasn't very impressed with it then. It was still really, really early. Well, it's been 5 years, it's coming to Xbox One, so when I heard that it was coming to Xbox One, I immediately got a hold of whoever I needed to get a hold of so I could try to get my hands on one of these keys so I could test it out, because I thought for sure over the 5 years this game will be amazing. It's been in 5 years in development, it's still around, even though all the other zombie survival games have pretty much fell by the wayside. I've got to check this game out. And boy, was I upset once I finally got in this game. That, for a negative way, actually does live up to its name. Your characters are broken for days. The servers don't work for days. Your aggravation and anger towards actually putting time into this game lasts for days. And there's plenty of Z's to go around too, but I'm not actually talking about the one of the 4 zombies you'll run into the hours you spend playing this game, because there are hardly any around. When you run into them, it's like a rare accomplishment. I'm talking about these kind of Z's. The game is boring. There's no way to loot anything. Sometimes you get to the point where you can't even find a single piece of cloth, or even if you do, it glitches to the point where you can't even pick it up. Don't even get me started with PvP interactions if you manage to run into a person, which you never know if you're going to be running into anybody, because the server list always says there is 0 people in the server, even though there could be 60 in there, and somehow, even if there says there's 0, I can be number 150 in a queue to even get into the game. Even if you do manage to run into an actual person and you're thinking, okay, I've got 25 rounds in this gun, I've got a knife, if I take that person out, I can take their stuff. Guess what? The only thing you can loot off these people is whatever is in their hands. Anything else is gone. But guess what? Don't worry, you can use your hunting knife to at least cut up and make human steak. Like, what the f***? Seriously, what were you guys thinking when you made this game? And I haven't even gotten into the biggest problem with this game, the inventory system. The inventory system is so broken that a lot of times you have no idea what you're doing. And don't go looking for a tutorial on how to help you, because when you go look through the tutorial to hopefully get an idea of what you're doing, it looks like this, with absolutely no explanation or words explaining what exactly you're supposed to do. In order to figure out how to load my gun, it took me a whopping 2 hours just standing there and fiddling with the controls trying to figure out how exactly to load a gun. And the biggest problem was that there's no way to move things around in my inventory. So if my bullets and my magazine somehow wind up in the wrong compartments and they're separated from each other, I can't actually pick up my magazine and load bullets into my magazine, then put them into my gun. You spend several hours actually dropping things on the ground and picking things back up in random order, hoping you can get the things you need in the right inventory slots at the right time. At one point in time, I had to actually die because I could not drink water, because for whatever reason, my character would not put anything down. I had my gun stuck in my hands for like an hour, and while my character needed to drink water, and I could not get the water to go into my hands because my character would not put anything down. And this is the kind of thing that is so broken in this game. Now, I did have a couple instances where my characters weren't broken. I was able to pick things up, put things down, make bandages, but that was very rare. It wasn't like it was a regular thing. It was very rare. It barely happened. And you know, when you log into the game, and every time you log into the game, you're wondering, well, is my character going to be broken out? Because if it glitches up, that's it. That character is done. If you can't put anything down, like if you can't put your gun down, if you can't drop it, you can't put it back into your inventory, and you're out of ammo, and you can't actually load a magazine with bullets, that's it. You have an empty gun that can do nothing, and you can't punch with the empty gun because every time you go into combat stance, it's to shoot, even if it's empty. Oh, and one thing that's really fun to do is when you load your gun, it says you have ammo, and you go to shoot somebody, and it doesn't actually fire off a shot, and then you have to reload it for a second time. That's always a fun thing to happen when you're playing this game, especially whenever you get people chasing after you with a rifle or machete, because for the most part, nobody knows what the hell they're doing in this game. And lastly, when it comes to finding things, you know, I was actually really excited about this because I thought for sure if H1Z1 and Infestation had some form of good crafting system and some good form of system where you can loot and make things and make yourself, you know, viable to survive, then surely this game would do really good with it. But I rarely found anything in any houses. Most of the time I was searching houses, and you can't search refrigerators, you can't search shelves, you can't search anything. And you just look for things on the ground, and most of the time you're only finding clothes. That's it. I found a weapon, I think maybe 2 or 3 times. I found an axe and a rifle. Didn't find any ammo for the rifle, but I found the rifle. So, I mean, this game is just, it's got a lot wrong with it. I've not played the PC version recently to tell you whether or not it's much worse than this game. I know a lot of people really like the PC version. It's got a good following. But right now, really, the only thing going for this game is that it looks better than PUBG, which is also in game preview. But if looks are not everything, and this game doesn't look very good anyway, just PUBG doesn't look very good in game preview anyway. But I know everybody's going to scream, well, this game's in game preview, it's in early access, it's to be expected. Yeah, well, I think, if I remember correctly, they said they're going to be charging $40 for this in early access. Ark Survival Evolved, which was, I think, $30 when I got it, on Steam and on game preview. PUBG was $30. They both have already left game preview, and compared to this game, they were fully functioning AAA titles when they released into early access or game preview. Compared to this game is bad. It's really broken, and I think if I spent $40 on this game, I would be refunding it within the first couple hours. I understand games having bugs and issues, but the issues that are plaguing this thing are they are phenomenally bad. You are not going to buy this game and have a blast or enjoy yourself, really. Zombies are hard to find. They're not everywhere like you would think in a zombie apocalypse. You're more likely going to run into another player before you run into a zombie in this game. On top of that, you can loot towns and towns and towns of houses and probably find nothing. It's really, they dropped the ball with this game. It's way out. It should have came out 5 years ago, and properly came out 5 years ago. The popularity and demand for this kind of game is not really there anymore, and if it was, or if they wanted this game to succeed, they would at least need to do something really good with it, and it's awful. I think them coming to Xbox finally in the game preview was just a last-ditch effort to try to save this game. I don't like saying this stuff about games because I know developers do work hard on stuff like this, but this game is just so bad. There's no wildlife, there's no dog. I mean, even in H1Z1 back in 2014 when it came out, you had, you know, wild dogs, you had wolves, you had deer, you had wildlife you could hunt and kill to survive. There, you could go into a house and find things in the refrigerator. With this game, you can't search anything, you can't loot anything, so it's definitely a no for me. If I were gonna if somebody asked me if I would recommend this game to buy in this current state, even though it's in early access, I would say no. And I know people are going to say, well, it's in early access now, but when it comes out, it'll be full price, and you'll end up paying more. This game's been in early access for 5 years. If it was going to come out anytime soon, it would have, and I'm telling you right now, based on what I've been playing, when it comes to the Xbox One version of this game, it's not coming out of early access anytime soon, if it even survives. So I don't recommend it. I hate saying stuff like that, but this game is just by far the worst game I've ever played in my life. But that's all the time I got for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something today. Hopefully I saved somebody from spending $40 on a game they were really going to hate afterwards. But that's all the time I got for this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like this video and you want to see more, please click that red subscribe button. If you want to know anytime Nathan or I upload videos, please click that bell icon. YouTube is not giving out notifications to our viewers. But I will see you guys next time.